Good afternoon to everybody. I am K.Prameela, JL in Economics, Tsrjc Hasanparthy. First of all, I am thankful to Secretary Garu, Tsrjc, for giving this opportunity to me. So now I am introducing the economic second year, which is Economic Development of India. So in the introduction class, first of all, I have to discuss about the syllabus. So the total syllabus of economic second year divided into 10 chapters. So the first unit, which is called as economic growth and economic development. So in the economic growth and economic development chapter, we can know about what is economic growth, what is economic development. Next, what are the objectives of economic growth and development? And next, we can also know that the factors that may affect or contribute to the economic development and factors that may lead to reducing the economic development of that means the obstacles for economic development. And also we know the differences between the growth and the development also. Next, in this chapter, we are also known about the objectives of economic development and next, the characteristics of developed economies and developing economies also. So this is about the first unit. Next, if we go to second unit, second and third and fourth units, we know that what are the problems that are faced by the economies are discussed in these chapters. So in the first chapters, in the second chapters, we know about the population. That means demographic transmission theory. Next, the causes for population growth in the economy and what are the measures that has to taken by the government. And next, the population theories. And next, we are also known that human development index, etc. Next, if we go to third chapter, it deals with the national income and poverty and unemployment. So in the chapter, we know about the concept of national income. Next, how we estimate the national income estimations. Next, we can also know about the contribution of different sectors in national income and the workforce of different sectors in national income also we can learn in this chapter. Next, if we go to the poverty concept, what is poverty? What are the definitions? What are the concepts of poverty and types of poverty? And what are the causes for poverty? And what are the measures that has government taken to reduce poverty in the economy? The different programs which are adopted to reduce the poverty also we can learn in this chapter. Next, we can also studies about the unemployment, the types of unemployment, the causes and the remedial measures that has taken by the government to reduce the unemployment program in the unemployment in the economy and the different programs which are adopted by the government. Next, if we go to the fourth chapter, planning and Niti Ayog, what is planning and what are the different types of planning that are adopted? Next, different types of 5-year plans, the objectives, the achievements of different 5-year plans. So we can also learn why the plans are not successfully adopted, why they are lead to failure in the adoption of 5-year plans in the economy. Next, we can also learn about the Niti Ayog. Next, in this chapter, we can also learn about the regional imbalances also. So what is regional imbalance? So what are the causes that leads to regional imbalances in the economy and what are the measures and what are the effects of regional imbalances we learn in fourth chapter. Next, if we go to the fifth chapter, it discussed about the agriculture. So agriculture mainly play very important role in Indian economy. So Indian economy is also known as agriculture economy because it play very important role in our economy so that we learn about the agriculture in the fifth chapter. So if we go to agriculture chapter, the role or importance of agriculture in Indian economy. And next one, we can also know that if we compare to other countries, the agriculture production is very low. So what are the causes for low productivity in agriculture sector? So mainly due to number of reasons, it leads to low productivity. So in that, so some of the regions like rural indebtedness. So what are the rural indebtedness? What are the causes for indebtedness? What are the steps that has taken by the government to reduce the indebtedness in the economy? We can know from this chapter. Next, we can also know to remove the imbalances in the economy, mainly in case of land distribution. The land reforms are introduced. So we are also discuss about land reforms in the 5th chapter also. Next, we can also learn about agriculture marketing policies of the government. And next, we can also know about the agriculture financial institutions that is provided by the government and as usual other institutions also. So mainly we can also learn about the NABARD and its functions. Next, if we go to 6th chapter, it deals with the industrial sector. We can all know that most of the countries are called as developed countries because of their development in industrial sector only. So the industries play very important role in all the economies to achieve development. So in the syllabus of Indian economy, we can also learn about the industrial sector. So in this chapter, we discussed about the industrial importance of industrial sector. Next, the development of industrial sector in Indian economy, different types of industries and their development and in production status. Next, we can also know the very important role which was placed by the small scale and cottage units. So what is the importance of small scale and cottage units? Next, what are the problems faced by the small scale and cottage industries? And next, we can also learn the measures which has taken by the government to reduce the problems of small scale and cottage industries also. And we can also know about the industrial policy resolutions which was adopted by Indian economy. So this is about the 6th chapter. Next, if we go to 7th chapter, territory sector, that means which is known as service sector also. So in this chapter, we learn about the importance of service sector in Indian economy and different types of and service sectors. That means communication, banking, the IT sector, tourism, etc. So all these we can know about in the 7th chapter. Next, if we go to 8th unit, the foreign sector. That means in the foreign sector, so what is balance of payment and what is balance of trade? So what is the difference between balance of trade and balance of payment? Next, how the international trade helpful to achieve the development in the economy. Next, in this chapter also we can learn about the foreign direct investment, importance of foreign direct investment, and we can know about the WTO and GATT also. So what is GATT? What are the functions of GATT? Next, we can also know what is WTO and functions of WTO and the difference between WTO and GATT. Next, we can also know about the importance of WTO in achieving development of Indian economy also. Next, if we go to the chapter 9th one, environment. So environment play very important role nowadays. So mainly we given priority to sustainable development. So to provide the resources to future generations without damage, it is the responsibility of us to maintain the environment in a proper way. So for that purposes, in this chapter, we learn about environmental factors. That means the concept of ecosystem. Next, pollution, importance of environmental protection, different types of pollutions, what are the causes, what are the effects, and how we can reduce the measures, reduce the pollutions in the economy also. Next, we can also know about the sustainable development in the 9th chapter. So if we go to 10th chapter, the last one, it is about the Telangana economy. So in this chapter, we learn about our state. So what is the GDP in Telangana state and importance of different sectors in Telangana state like industrial sector, agriculture sector and tertiary sector in our Telangana state. Next, we can also learn about the infrastructure development in Telangana, and next we can also learn about the different programs implemented by the government to provide social security to the people. Next, if I go to that, the position of unemployment and poverty in Telangana economy also. So we can know about the Telangana state regarding the GDP problems faced by the Telangana state like poverty, unemployment. Next, the status of agriculture sector, industrial sector and service sectors also. So with this, we can clear idea about the syllabus of second year economics, which is called as economic development of India. So if we go to students, if we go to the exam pattern, we all know that in the like first year, in the second year also, we have to write 3 essay questions out of 5. Next, we have to answer 8 short answers out of 12. Next, out of 20, we have to answer 15 very short answers. Out of 18, we have to answer 15. So like this, the total syllabus divided into these 10 chapters and the pattern will be, exam pattern will be the same as first year, 100 marks question paper. So this is about the introduction regarding into second year syllabus. So next, if we go to the first chapter, which is known as economic growth and economic development. So we all know that economic growth and economic development we use in the similar manner. But in economics, we go to that, there is difference between economic growth and economic development. So according to some of the economists, mainly the growth may deal to developed economies. It deals with the problems of mainly developed economies. But if we go to economic development, it deals with the developing economies. So there is variation between the growth and development according to the economist. But in general, according to our general sense, they are used as synonymously. That means economic growth and economic development used in synonymous manner. So if we go to the economic growth, mainly different economists defined it in different way. So the problem of developed economies are mainly to increase the production only, because already they achieved the social, cultural, political, technical, as well as in all the development. So mainly they concentrate how to increase the productivity with the available by adopting modern technology. But in case of developing economies, there are number of problems to increase the production. So to increase production, they have to solve those problems regarding social, political, economical, technical, cultural, etc. also. So these number of factors are become backward in and become obstacle for the development of these developing economies. So the developing economies like India, Pakistan, China, etc., they mainly concentrated to achieve the economic development by improving all these conditions, which is known as economic development. So next, if we go to the developing economies, mainly they concentrate on the definitions. So to achieve the economic development. So if we go to the definitions of economic growth and economic development, which was given by the different economists. So if we go to the first definition, C.P. Kindle-Barker. So according to Barker, growth means more output. Simply, he says that growth means more output. So economic development, it implies with both more output and changes in the technical and institutional arrangements by which it is produced and distributed. So according to him, he says that economic growth means simply, he says that more output in the economy. But economic development, it implies not only increasing the output, but the changes in technical and institutional which arrangements increase to produce, and whatever the production taken place, it may be distributed in proper way according to Kindle-Barker. Next, the second definition which was given by Michael Thurtlow. So if we go to that, we can find simply the quantitative significance is growth. Development means both quantitative and qualitative significance. So we can find that if there is only quantitatively increase in production, it is called as growth. Next, along with the growth, and quantitative growth, the qualitative significance also taken place, which is called as economic development. So if we go to second one, according to Michael P. Todaro. So according to him, economic growth, it is a steady progress by which the productive capacity of the economy is measured over time to bring about rising levels of national output and income. So economic growth, it is a steady process. How it can possible to increase the productivity of the economy over a time, that means in a given time, to bring about the raising levels of national output and income, which is called as economic growth according to Michael P. Todaro Anamata. So if we go to the third definition, which was given by the Simon Kuznets. So according to him, economic growth is defined as a long-term process where in the sustainable and sustained rise in and a substantial and sustained rise in national income, the total population and next real per capita income taken place, it is called as economic development. So according to Kuznets, economic growth means it is a long-term process where the sustained and sustained development taken place is called as economic growth. That means if there is a increase in case of per capita income, it is called as economic growth according to Simon Kuznets. So next, if we go to, there are also other economists defined economic growth in a different manner. So according to Madison, so rising of income levels in rich countries, rising of income levels in rich countries, which is called as economic growth. So rising level of income level in poor countries, it is called as economic development. So this is about the definitions of economic growth and economic development. So if we go to that, mainly there are four determinants of economic growth. So what is that means? What are the four determinants of economic growth? The first one, the rate of saving. Next, second one, the capital output ratio. That means third one, rate of growth for labor force. Fourth one, rate of growth of technology. Rate of growth of technical progress. So these are the main four determinants that determines the economic growth in the economy. So next, if we go to structural changes in the economic development. So if we go to the structural changes in the economic development, that means mainly economic development takes place when only the changes occurred in case of structure of the economy. So if we go to economic development, it represents the changes in various sectors of the country. So various sectors of the country change, then only it may possible to achieve economic development. So if we go to the first of all, it has to change the occupation structure. Occupation structure means the population, labor force engaged in different sectors. So if we change the occupation structure, that means if we go to Indian economy, most of the people depending on agriculture. So the labor force depending on agriculture. So the structure of this labor force must change. That means the labor has to shift from primary sector to tertiary and secondary sectors. So then only it was possible to achieve economic development. So it is the first structural change that has to taken place, then only it can possible to achieve economic development. So next, if we go to second one, structure of the national output also change. That means the contribution of different sectors in the economy also change. Then only it can possible to achieve economic development. Suppose, for example, if we take an Indian economy, so the most of the the contribution made from agriculture sector. So if we want to achieve economic development, the contribution of secondary and tertiary sectors must increase. Then only it can possible to achieve economic development. So to take the development in the economy, it has to change the structure of national output also. Next, third one తీసుకున్నట్లయితే structure of industrial production has to change. That means if we take the industrial sector, it can produce both the consumer goods and production goods. That means capital goods. So the product in growth in case of production of capital goods increases, then only it can possible to achieve economic development. So economic development has taken place when the production of capital goods increases, vice versa in case of consumer goods also, because they are also important. So next one తీసుకున్నట్లయితే fourth one, structure of foreign trade. That means if we go to most of the developing economies, they're depending on agriculture sector. So in exports and imports, the agriculture goods may plays very important role. So the share of primary goods in exports decrease and the share of capital goods in imports increases or exports increases, then only it can possible to achieve economic development in the economy. So the share of mainly the capital goods has to increase, then only it can possible to achieve economic growth. So next, if we go to the structure of the technology, that means the modern and advanced techniques of productions are used in all the sectors, then only it can possible to achieve economic development. So we have to adopt modern and advanced technology in all the sectors, then only it can possible to achieve the economic development. So the last one తీసుకున్నట్లయితే, so next the change in social and institutional sectors. That means increasing the standard of living of the people. So social and institutional sectors. Social means the attitudes of the people. Mainly the attitudes of the people must change, then only it can possible to achieve the development. So for that, the literacy rate has to increase. Next, it has to increase the changes in living standards of the people by providing health, education, sanitation, drinking water facilities, and development environmental, then only it can possible to achieve the social and institutional things. So it can possible to achieve economic development. So the next one, if we go to that, okay, sir. So the distinction between the economic growth and economic development. So next one, the differences between distinction between economic growth and economic development. So up to now we learn about what is growth and what is development. So what is the differences between this growth and development? So if we go to that, mainly we are all known that the increase in case of real output, which is called as economic growth. That means increase in countries real output. In case of goods and services, it is called economic growth, the first one. Next, what is economic development means? Along with the growth, the changes in social and economic structure occurs, then only it is called as economic development. So the real increase in output, which is called as economic growth, and growth along with the changes in social and economic structure is called as development. Next, second point, if we go to that, economic growth is a single dimension. That means single dimensional phenomenon. So it deals only with the changes in output. It deals with changes in output. So not with the only changes in output. So not with other things. But in case of economic development, it is a multi-dimensional concept. That means along with the changes in output, increase in output, the social, cultural, technical, all the things has to change. So because it is called as a multi-dimensional one. So next, if we go to the difference and variations between the growth and the development. So growth explains only the quantitative changes in the economy. It only explains the quantitative change. That means how much the output increases in all the sectors for a certain period of time. But in case of development, it explains both the quantitative and qualitative changes also. So that means the quantitative changes like how the output increases in different sectors of the economy, and the qualitative change means the social, economical, cultural, technical. So all these things may be analyzed in economic development. So next one, if we go to next one. So economic growth, it is the issue under traditional economics. According to traditional economies, they mainly concentrated on growth. So if we take care of growth or development, automatically the other problems may be solved. That means, for example, if we mainly concentrate on growth concept, whatever the poverty is there, it may be removed automatically according to traditional economists. So the economic growth mainly depending on the traditional economics. That means we have to take care about the development, then only automatically the problems may be solved according to them. But in case of economic development, it depends on modern economics. That means if we remove the poverty, automatically development may take in place according to that. That means when we solve the problems, when we solve the problems or what are the obstacles to that development, automatically the development may take in place according to the economic development, which may be depending on modern economic concept. So next, the variation. So its scope is narrow. So already we learned that its scope is narrow means economic growth only teaches us about the how the production increases in the economy in different sectors with the same inputs. With the same inputs, by improving the technology, how the production increases. With the same inputs means how to improve the production with the available inputs only. We can learn in economic growth. But in case of economic development, it deals with the scope is very wide. That means it teaches us how the production increases. Next, whatever the social, cultural, technical. So all these problems may be removed with the help of economic development. So that means the scope of economic development is wide and the scope of economic growth is narrow. So next one, if we go to that, it considers only short-term process. Economic growth considered as a short-term process. That means the increase in production may be compared within the limited time period. So 1 year or 2 year or 3 year or 4 years. So it deals only with the short-term periods. So that means we can compare the production or productivity of different sectors or different industries, how much it increases when compared to last year to this year. So it considers only a short period. But in case of economic development, it considers a long period. So it is a long-term process. That means 20 to 30 years or 40 years, etc. So depending on long-term, how the production increases in the economy by changing all the social, cultural, economic, and technical changes. So it considered as long-term process. It is the variation. Next one. If we go to economic growth, it only relevant to developed countries. So mainly the problem of developed countries is to how to increase growth, how to increase the production. That means already whatever the technical change, through the structural and economical, cultural, social, that means attitude of the people, so are all well. So because of that, they mainly concentrate on how to develop the output, how to increase the output in the economy. So it relevant only to developed countries, problems of developed countries. But in case of economic development, it deals with the problems of developing countries, like how to increase the productivity in all the sector. To increase the productivity, how we can change all these aspects like social, that means attitudes of the people. Next అదేవిధంగా economical. Economical means how to weigh whatever the sources available in the economy, how we can allocate them to different sectors. Next, the structure of the economy also change, attitudes of the people also change, then only it can possible to achieve economic development and growth in case of output. So it deals with the developing countries. So if we go to that, in case of economic growth, it not indicates the distribution of income and wealth. So it only deals with the increase in output or production. But in case of economic development, it indicates the distribution of income also. So how, whatever the generated in the economy, how it distributed to different sectors. So it deals with economic development. So these are the some of the variations between economic growth and economic development. So next one, if we go to the objectives of economic development. So already we discussed about what is definition of what is growth and what is development, and next what are the factors that helpful to achieve the economic growth, and next we can also learn about the variations between or distinctions between economic growth and economic development. So next we go to the objectives of economic development. So in the objectives, the first one, to achieve the high rate growth of improvement in the standards of living of the people, it is one of the objective of all the developing economies. So mainly if we take the developing economies, to achieve growth rate in the economy, it is the one of the important problem, because everyone try to achieve high rate of standard of living of the people. Suppose for example, if we take Indian economy, the growth rate in GDP, it was nearly, we achieved 7% up to 7th to 8th plan. But the problem is that the population also increasing its high rate. So due to increasing population at a higher level, it is not possible to achieve the standard of living of the people in a high rate, because due to that we have to increase the growth rate in the economy and increase the standard of living in the living of the people by solving the problem of population growth. So to achieve high growth, achieving of high growth and increasing the standard of living of the people is one of the important objective of developing economies. Mainly it is the objective of economic development. So next, if we go to the second objective, achieving self-reliance. So achieving self-reliance is the one of the important objective of economic development. Self-reliance means achieve self-sufficiency in case of all the things. So to achieve self-sufficiency, it is the one of the important. That means depending on other countries, reducing the depending on other countries and achieving self-sufficiency in case of all the things, it is one of the important objective of economic development. Next one, social justice. So achievement of social justice is also one of the important objective of economic development also anamata. Okay. So next one, modernization. Achieve the modernization, that means using improvement of new technology in the economy, and it is one of the important one. Tarvata achieving economic stability, and without inflationary conditions we have to achieve the development. So it is the non-inflationary development in the economy is another objective, and achieving sustainable development, that means reducing the dependence on other countries we have to reduce, then only it can possible to achieve sustainable development in the economy and inclusive growth. So we have to provide all the things, whatever the things provided by the environment, we have to give to the next generations also, so without damage to them. So inclusiveness, that means whatever the growth taken place in the economy, it has to provide the lowest sections of the people also, suppressed sections of the people also. So these are the important objectives of economic development.